Hello and welcome to the Geek Embassy Watches Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Regina McMenomy, and I'm here tonight with Dante and Isabella. And
Hi.
say hi, guys.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about the next two episodes of Star Trek Discovery, Episode 3 and Episode 4. Episode 3 is called Context is for Kings. And episode 4 has the longest title I've ever seen in a Star Trek episode. The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry.
What is this, Game of Thrones?
Huh?
What is this, Game of Thrones?
I know, right?
Apparently. So, I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
All right. So as a warning, of course, we're going to spoil everything in these episodes. So we're going to talk about them in depth, beginning to end. And we're going to talk about all the major events that happen. So hopefully you guys have already watched and you'll enjoy our discussion. So let's start with, let's go in order. Let's start with episode 3. And let me just get your initial reaction. So episode 3 finds our wayward first officer on a shuttle headed to prison.
Yep. And she is almost comically dejected and despondent. Like I wasn't sure if she was like actually trying to act or she was directed to go ahead and just be so over the top with her just staring blankly into the camera and saying 3,117 people are dead because of me and speaking in monotone just like this the entire episode. It's it wore on me. Like, I get it. I get it. You're grieving. You have a lot on your mind. You have a lot on your conscience. Like, give me some inflection, please. Yeah. So yeah. My first impression of the episode was I wasn't impressed, and yeah, she continues to be the least engaging part of the show for me.
Okay.
So this is a little bit. This is not directly after.
No, it's been 6 months. It's been 6 months.
So she's being like transferred to another facility or something.
Yeah. So she's on a small shuttle ship with a few other inmates who are in for, or not necessarily Starfleet, I don't think either.
No, I think just regular prisoners.
Yeah.
Because especially because I keep poking fun of her for being Starfleet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. At the very beginning, I was really annoyed by her dejected state. But I think everyone else kind of made up for it. She quickly gets out of that, I think.
Yeah.
Or that's forced out of that by her natural curiosity.
Yeah. I think it didn't bother me because it felt like, I don't know, I could kind of see that. I mean, she does have a flat affect. But I can't tell if that's, like you said, Dante, like partially direction because she's supposed to be, a human trained Vulcan, essentially.
I think that's part of what happened in the first 2 episodes when she was flip-flopping between the 2 extremes. Like she was either really emotional or really not Vulcan-like.
Yeah.
I think she's just going back to what she knows, and that's being the flat, unaffected Vulcan type.
Yeah, I agree.
You see, but that's the thing with pretty much every other Vulcan except for Spock. because Leonard Nimoy was like, let's just be real here. Like, he was masterful in creating what Vulcans were / are to everybody. Like, just because you are subscribed to cold logic, and just because you have forgone all emotion, does not mean that you can't have inflection. Does not mean that you can't. Does not mean that you can't express wonder or curiosity or befuddlement or something like that. Just because you may not be feeling these emotions doesn't necessarily mean that the actor can't convey can't convey anything besides like, I'm going to talk in monotone the entire time because I'm Vulcan and this is just the thing that we do. Like, it annoys the tar out of me that she continues to do that.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I can see that as an argument, sort of working with that approach and that thing. But what makes it kind of it makes more sense to me for her character to be that way because she's not Vulcan, and it's an affectation, like, in who she is. This is not really who she is, and that's what Captain Giorgio was trying to kind of pull out of her, was to get to her humanity and remind her of her humanity. And I think that, so when she comes across with that flat affect, I think it's a layer on top of like all of who she is. It's not like true Vulcan. So I think it should look
Awkward.
look bad. Yeah, it should look bad because it's not really who she is.
I also think she's leaning on that a lot because she's grieving.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, she feels guilty, but she's also grieving.
She feels responsible. Yeah. I think it's unfair that everybody's like, well, you started the war, and I was just like, well, it's not like she. What would anybody else have done in her position if you're faced with a Klingon warrior wielding a bat'leth at you? Would you have just let him slice you in half? Like, come on.
I mean, I think it goes back to the point where, like, she was never supposed to have landed on that vessel.
Yes.
She was supposed to do a flyby, and that's it. And had she just done a flyby, it is arguable that none of this would have happened.
Yeah, she definitely didn't follow protocols, that's for sure, which continues to be her defining
her MO.
Yeah, which we see in this episode, right?
Yeah, where she goes ahead and she, like, what does she do? She, like, breathalyze, she steals someone's, like, breath or something like that to go ahead and pass through the door.
Yeah,
their spit.
Yeah, she knows. It was interesting because I love the little bit of storytelling where, okay, let's not jump ahead too far in the story. So, because she's a prisoner. The transport gets consumed by some sort of space bugs. It gets rescued by the Discovery. And so finally, we're introduced to the actual ship that the show's about.
Yep. And it is not a prison ship.
And it's not a prison ship, which was one of my first things. I was like, why, if the ship was right there, why did the shuttle pilot get off and try to clear the bugs off and then die? Like, why didn't she just wait? And then I realized that Discovery wasn't supposed to pick them up. Like, that's the whole catch. Like, this was literally a rescue. Yeah,
it was a rescue that came out of warp and all other fun stuff.
Yeah. So she gets picked up by Discovery. Discovery's a science ship. The captain, Lorca, who's played by Jason Isaacs, who you may know from Harry Potter.
Which character was he in Harry Potter?
He was Malfoy's dad.
Lucius.
No, that's why he looks so familiar.
Yes.
He does the smirkiness really well.
He does smirkiness really well.
That's how I can recognize him.
Man, how come British actors can do such a good American accent, but American actors cannot do the same?
It's just, I don't know, but it's definitely true. But yeah, so that's who Jason Isaacs is.
Okay.
Yes, so if you did recognize him, that's where he came from. He did that. He did a series on Netflix as well.
Wasn't he on the OA?
OA. I was gonna say AI, and I'm like, it's not AI. OA. Yeah,
I didn't watch it, but I know he was on there because
he was the bad guy on in that series. He was the villain. He plays a great villain. He's got a good villain face, which I think we're gonna.
He does this murky villain real well.
He really has that look down, and I think we're gonna see him embrace more of that. So she meets Lorca. Lorca says, if I put you in the brig, they're going to kill you. So what are we going to do with you? What do you know about quantum physics? Okay, I'm going to assign you to a lab to do some work for me while you're
She's like everything.
Right.
And the lab is run by Lieutenant Stamets, who is played by Mr. Anthony Rapp. Musical nerds will know Anthony Rapp as the original Mark Cohen from the original Broadway company of Rent.
Oh, really?
Yep, that is the original Mark Cohen from Rent.
Oh, I had no idea.
I
That's
couldn't
awesome.
stop singing the entire soundtrack the entire time that he was on screen.
I like his character very much. He's the arrogant scientist.
But he's got a little bit of a soft side to him.
A little, yes.
A little.
Like
I like that he
insecurity too.
Yeah, I like that he's insecure. I like that he is he's not so arrogant so as to sabotage Michael. Like he is willing to go ahead and admit okay, I guess you did all right for a prisoner or something.
Right.
He gives credit where credit is due, and he's wonderfully complex. I was happy to see that he wasn't just another arrogant science tech bro.
Yeah, he's been really cool to watch, and that he and her roommate.
I forget.
Is it Kayla?
Sure.
No, I don't. I'm looking at the list here. Let me look. I have summaries up too, so I can kind of pull through them.
Sylvia Tilly.
So I love Sylvia. I'm absolutely in love with her character.
She's playing the role of quirky roommate very well.
Yes, quirky, sort of socially awkward. But I just adore her from the get-go. I just as soon as she walked in the room and part of the reason why I think I like her so much is because she's got so much affect in contrast to Michael's flat. So I think that, and I think she will be the thing that kind of helps pull her out because she's the only person who's really giving her a chance in a social way. So Sylvia's great. So then she gets us. Go ahead.
Can I say? Oh, I just want to say one thing about Sylvia. Is one thing that I actually just realized about it that I like about her so much is that she's the one Starfleet officer that I can remember in a long, long time that doesn't act like a Starfleet officer.
Yeah.
Most Starfleet officers, they have their individual personalities, but most of them are calm, composed. They have this, this air of
veneer.
Exactly. This veneer of cool about them.
Polish.
Polish. That's what I was looking for. I was going to say the Fonzie factor, but polish seems a lot better.
But yes, they do have that sheen about them, right? Where
that finishing school, cherry on top.
That's an excellent observation.
She has none of it.
None of it.
And she's
she
wearing
wants
the
to be
Starfleet
a captain.
badge. Yeah, it is so refreshing to see somebody who looks like they clearly passed at the bottom of their class. But what do they call the person who graduates last from medical school? Call them doctor.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
Actually,
I think.
Didn't she say that she was top of her class in whatever the heck she was doing?
Was she?
Yeah, I think she's very smart. It's the social.
Right. She's just classically nerdy, I think. She's super, super smart, but she's not people smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
She misses on those things. Yeah, so that's why that's part of what I guess she needs to learn.
But that's okay. I really like that we have the one character who's not Wesley Crusher that makes all the officers go oh God, why are you speaking? It makes me happy.
Yeah, I think she's great. And so yeah, and she's the one. So Michael is assigned to the lab, and Sylvia doesn't actually want to work next to her. She tries. She's like, "Well, we have assigned spaces. Like, go stand somewhere else."
Oh yeah,
because she doesn't want to be associated with her at first.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know, and then and then Michael goes ahead and discovers, they eventually go onto another ship, and they rescue a bunch of Starfleet officers from this giant bug monster thing. And it's not until after that Sylvia is just like, "Oh well, I guess you're kind of okay."
Right.
You know, I was afraid that if I associated with you, that I'd be dragging
wouldn't like me.
Yeah, I'd be dragging my reputation down into the mud with you.
Right. Because of course she's branded as a traitor and mutineer. That's what they keep saying.
Yeah,
she's a mutineer.
Yeah, they keep saying that was another thing that that really struck me. Just going back to the prison transport shuttle, was that even the other criminals, and like I'm assuming that there are like thieves and murderers and people in there, but even there they're just sitting there like, "Oh, a mutineer," like practically clutching their pearls. Like, I would never.
I know, it is kind of ridiculous.
It was like, you'd think that everybody else would just be like giving her a high five or something, because none of those people seem to like have any lost love for Starfleet.
Yeah, not at all. But yeah, it's funny. It was funny. Yeah, so it's Sylvia tells her that she snores, and that's how she ends up. There's part of the lab that she has to essentially break into. Nobody will give her access to the super secret part of the lab. And so I thought it was genius that she went and grabbed Sylvia's saliva and got a little air gun, because it's a breathalyzer to open the door.
Yeah, something. Yeah, it was really cool. And that's when she finds out, some big secrets, that they've got like an entire like permaculture pod just sitting inside of this ship. It's got ferns and trees, and I mean, I think they have small living organisms in there. Now they have a big living organism sitting in there.
Yes, exactly, which we get into episode 4. So yeah, so she saves the day. Some of the observations I loved about episode 3 was, so they called it Black Alert. So they had a Black Alert, which they don't really explain. They still haven't really fully explained what that means, even through episode 4. And she escapes through a Jeffries tube, and then there's reference to it being a Jeffries tube. I just love that, mostly because when they named the Jeffries tubes after one of the producers of the original series.
Ah, okay.
So every time
that's the reference that was going over my head then.
Yeah, so every time that's referenced, it's sort of a calling back to the original series.
Okay.
The Jeffries tubes. So it's always the Jeffries tubes.
Cool. So with regards, I'm sorry. So with regards to the end of the episode, so end of the episode, they're in this abandoned ship or whatever. It was a ship that got destroyed. It was a Starfleet ship that Lieutenant Stamets's I guess partner in crime was on. Pretty much the entire thing got decimated for because some big space monster. Michael comes on, she saves the day, she sees it, like killing Klingons. She's like, oh, well, whatever, Klingons. But she eventually goes ahead and gets the thing trapped and all that other fun stuff. And then end of the episode, or rather, no, I think
she's running from
it. Was it that she thought that she killed it, or she ran from it, or she just kind of like narrowly
escaped from it? Like she went into, she climbed up into the Jeffries tube, up and over, and then bolted into where the shuttle was while they were getting. Because there's a bunch of equipment that they need, and they're trying to get the logs from the ship that had crashed.
Sure.
And
So my apologies, dear viewers. The details are a little fuzzy. I watched it like literally 2 weeks ago. What matters at the end of the episode was that at the end of the episode, you see Gabriel Lorca, and what annoyed me was that it seems like he is starting to suffer the same fate that Reverse Flash suffered in the first season of Flash, where like he is obviously like doing the bad guy thing, because you see him like he's in his private study and all of a sudden the big monster is like standing behind him in the containment cell and he's sitting there like, well, my sweet, what can we do for you? And like he may as well have a goatee and be stroking it like I am right now, my beard. Like he is being so obviously like the bad guy, and they're trying so hard to paint him as like, look at this morally ambiguous character. He's working in shades of gray. I'm like, guys, like you don't have to go ahead and and beat us over the head with it. And if and I don't think that I like where that's going. Like he's going to turn into a one-dimensional character for me if they keep just doing that.
I think he still has potential. But what were you going to say, Isabella?
I was watching this with my mom, and we watched the earlier Walking Dead seasons together, and she was like, is he just going to bust out with some zombies? Because that was like literally what they did with the governor in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like just like the wall.
Right, the wall of heads, severed heads. So
the wall of heads.
Yeah.
God, that part was so gross in the comics. I hated it.
Oh, yeah. That's a good correlation. Let's hope not, because if they're I mean, we learn more in episode 4 about the actual purpose of the creature, and it is good that it ends up being a good thing that they had essentially rescued it, although they think it's dangerous and a weapon, the creature itself, because the creature kills. There's Klingons on the ship.
And it can rip through Klingon armor. Yeah,
and it just destroyed them. And there aren't any live people. They don't rescue any people. They only get the equipment off the ship.
I think everyone was like long dead.
Because whatever this, I don't know if you call it whatever this transportation technology that they're using, when it backfired, it literally like scrambled the people, like scrambled them. It was pretty graphic in some spots.
Yeah, that was a little much.
Yeah, there were a couple of, I was like, wow, maybe this is part of the reason why they kept this on the streaming service instead of on the actual like
broadcast. They can do a little bit more with gore and stuff like that.
They can have a little bit more,
and they do a little bit more with that in episode 4 too.
Yes. Okay, so before we hop into episode 4, I have to nitpick, and I will fully own that I am being a Star Trek purist and nitpicking the crap out of this, but it bugged me so bad. Okay, so he's got a tribble. Lorca has a tribble on his desk in his office. Now, how familiar are either one of you with the Tribbles episode? And
I don't know what they do. I just know they were played by dogs.
I don't. I've never seen the Tribbles episode. I know that they reproduce like rabbits.
Well,
faster than rabbits.
Yeah. What the line from Bones? Like I've watched the Tribbles episode at least 3 times, so I know like, and they do a Deep Space Nine call back to it where they actually go back in time, and they're actually there during the Tribbles time, and for Deep Space Nine. So essentially, the Tribbles are born pregnant. So one of the reasons why they can't control them is because they are, I can't remember the word. What's the word when they have both sexes? Hermaphrodites. They're hermaphrodites, so they are able to. So they're born pregnant and they're just ready to go. So as soon as you have a Tribble, you have 10 Tribbles. Like one doesn't just. That's why they were so bad, because they were just everywhere. So how does he just have one
space neutering
on his desk, and 2, how did the original series not know what Tribbles were if Lorca had one on his desk?
All right, so 1, space neutering. 2, this is taking place before the original series, right?
Yes.
And from what I understand, so far in these first 2 episodes, Discovery is run by a person of questionable moral character. who is intent on keeping this ship a military vessel, and B, kind of a top secret vessel, like a need to know only vessel.
So you think that the information just never makes it out of Discovery. I mean, there has to be some sort of explanation for that, because this drive obviously fails.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has to, because it's not what they're using down the line, right?
I mean, I guess.
I don't think so. It doesn't seem to be like the, what is it, a hyperdrive?
Yeah, the warp drive.
Technology, the warp drive technology that they use.
Yeah, so we know as viewers, like, they don't know, but we know it can't be sustainable, because if it was,
right,
then
because the way the weird spore technology works is that it's like literally instantaneous.
Yes,
like you are
you just go from one place to the next
and just popping out like it's a wormhole practically. Like you just appear.
Yeah, it's basically,
and that's not at all how it seems to work in the rest of Star Trek.
Right.
Yeah, which we've seen this in Star Trek literally once before. Not in the canon universe, though. It was in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek Into Darkness.
Oh.
When Khan did it.
Oh, right.
Remember.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to watch those again.
Yeah, and it was, Khan did it in Kirk's time or whatever. That particular Kirk's time. So and I remember there was so much nerd rage over that, because once you've got this basically intergalactic transporter technology, like, what do you need starships for anymore?
Right, exactly. You don't have to. You wouldn't have to fly. Nobody would need to be in a ship.
No, exactly.
So it would change everything. But it's interesting. It was interesting to kind of think about that. So let's jump into episode 4 of The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry, because
the Sweeney Todd episode.
The Sweeney Todd episode.
We're just going to call it that, because he's the demon butcher of Barber. But Barber Butcher is basically the same thing in that play anyway. Anyways, so this episode starts out. With the big bug thing, and Michael and the other. I mean, I'm going to say that there was basically an unnamed lieutenant who's, I guess, was acting as like one of the heads of security or whatever, assigned to go ahead and figure out how to weaponize the big bug thing that terrorized the entire crew in the in the last show.
Right, until the crew of the other show.
I want to jump right into one of the most problematic things that I've had. That I have with this series so far. 4 episodes in, and we are starting a trend where on every even-numbered episode, a person of color dies. The partner is an Asian woman, and she is basically brutalized for absolutely no reason. She's 86, she's refrigerated, whatever you want to call it, just so Michael can go ahead and advance her story. And to go ahead and prove to Captain Lorca, like, oh, look at that! It's only attacking in self-defense, and if we only went ahead and did X, Y, and Z, which they ended up figuring out because she's smart and she's got a quick wit about her. But I have problems with the way that they are going about it. By the only folks that are dying at this point are Philippa Giorgio, who's an Asian woman, and we've got another ostensibly unnamed Asian woman who also just got brutally mutilated by this giant space bug, and I'm just not having it.
Right, like I did like a triple take. I was like, oh, she's just dead.
Yeah,
this seems so unlike most shows for one, and Star Trek in general, because it's just like I was expecting her to just recover.
Yeah,
I thought like Michael got her to sickbay really quickly,
like immediately. Like, and there's but again, this is before the original series. So in the original series, the medicine was not. It was still reasonably limited. So,
But
actually, you know what?
okay, but
I'm gonna stop
Michael
nitpicking.
Michael did that like crazy, like she was like covered in radiation burns, and then she just spends like 2 hours in the sick ward or whatever, and they just heal her.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
So.
And that character's name, by the way, was Commander Landry.
Commander Landry.
Rekha Sharma.
My apologies to anybody who like actually remembered the name. It's just like, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that is a reflection on how unimportant the show felt that.
Oh no, I'm not. The only reason why I know her name is because I literally have the IMDb open as we're working.
Oh, okay. There we go.
So I didn't like just remember her name. I looked it up and I had to confirm and make sure I was calling the right character because I picked the wrong name when I was trying to figure out who Sylvia was. So I think that is actually, you know, a note of you know, she had been in the escape scene in episode 3. She was the head of the away team that went on the ship that had exploded, that had broken down with other, also using the technology. The only line I remember her saying in that episode was, "Set your phasers to kill," as they're all running away.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't have a lot of screen time. And yeah, it is definitely problematic that we're having women of color be the victims. So hopefully episode 6 doesn't see another one, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
it was also just a really dumb way to die.
Well, it was, and I felt like, at least in terms of the story, I think, I mean, you're right, it is pushing Michael's story forward, but it was necessary to show her being measured in an instance of panic, because what she did when she panicked in the first 2 episodes was mutineer.
Oh yeah.
So I think she really did need to be put in a high pressured situation. It didn't have to be, you know, I don't think she had to die. I think it was an unnecessary death.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, she could have just like gotten her to sick bay and been like, oh, okay, well,
she didn't have to die.
You know, it's like you got a concussion, you know, you got some broken bones, and you know, like you're out of commission for 6 months.
And it would have been a more interesting story to tell, to watch her recover from that and, you know, learn some humility, because she was just like, I'm taking this thing out, you know, I'm stunning it and we're getting its finger, you know, or whatever.
And how cool would it have been for Michael to have like one genuine ally, one genuine ally besides her roommate, just be like, you know, listen, like
you protected me.
Like, I know you're a mutineer, but you saved my life, and I'm not going to forget that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It would have been deeper and better storytelling to not have had the death happen. And yeah.
You know, just like, foo on you, Star Trek Discovery. It's like, is basically it. I mean, so they're trying to go ahead and advance the whole thing with the with the space bug. So like, yeah, like, you know, like, it looks mean. Like, I don't know what the hell it's called. To be completely frank,
it's a giant tardigrade.
Tardigrade. Okay, so space bug, tardigrade, whatever. You know, it looks like something straight out of Starship Troopers. I'm not even joking. If you haven't seen the episodes, so the giant tardigrade, it feeds on these spores, these like mushroom spores, I'm guessing, or fungus spores.
I don't even know if it like feeds on them. Like, it just like gets enveloped. It's not like, right? It's not. They are just like
sucking it up.
Was he sucking him up? I don't know. I couldn't quite tell.
It looked like he was looked like he was ingesting them. But you know, I mean, like, you know, without him, you know, without giant space bug having language, you know, I can't really. I can't really say. I'm assuming that it's eating them up, and Michael's the one who realizes, like, wait a second, you know, like, maybe this thing understands how to go ahead and use the spores for intergalactic travel, because, you know, that's a completely logical jump to go from this thing eats spores to maybe this thing knows how to go ahead and navigate us.
Well, that's part of the reason why I thought, like, it And I do think you're right. I do think it was like sucking them up, but it's also like the spores also go over its body and like kind of interact in a different way than just the digestion. Like it's not just a straight straw into the, cup of.
So it's actually like interacting with.
Yeah. It. And she sees,
communicating.
And they notice that for sure when they take the creature and they put it in the environment where they're growing the spores, and they see it kind of, the spores move all around and over the body. Because that was only after that she came to the conclusion that, well, maybe this is what they're doing with this symbiotic relationship that they have.
Right.
Just to be a little.
I haven't really wrapped my head around their weird science that they're trying to come up with.
Right. Well, and it's bizarre. It's interesting if you've ever watched Farscape. That was the first thing I said when we finished the episode, was that they're kind of harkening back to Farscape, because Farscape has an actual navigator, like the Farscape, the ship. And either of you seen Farscape?
I've seen a tiny bit of Farscape.
Okay, so the ship in Farscape is it's a bio ship. It's actually a living entity that they're on, and there is a living navigator that has actually embedded its body into the ship, and that's how it flies. And so I just thought it was an interesting sort of callback to that, because even the way that they latch the space bug creature, I can't remember the name already.
Tardigrade.
The tardigrade into the apparatus looks very much like what the navigator looked like.
Yeah, that seemed really familiar to me for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe I think I have seen something from Farscape.
Probably. It's one of those that's kind of out and around a lot.
Yep. So, I mean, it's here that they're clearly trying to go ahead and, delve into their next gray area.
Yes, which is what I'm really interested to see where they take this, where, the conflict is, they've already teased that the conflict is going to be, there's too much stress on the tardigrade from the jumping, and Lorca with his brooding bad guy, no goatee rubbing guy thing going on, is clearly going to want to push the creature to whatever ends it can. Whatever else he can. And what's, and it's already been established, they don't have the logs from the previous ship that actually found this creature. So
so they're basically starting from square one.
Right. Like they don't know where to, if they, did they find it? Did they bring it on board somewhere? Was it on a planet? Did it grow somehow in their, I think they teased that, or they said something about it was found in the lower decks of the ship, and it had somehow made its way onto the ship because they were.
Yeah, I think it was drawn to the spores.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it ended up there.
But they don't know where they got it from or where they picked it up. So to replicate and to find another one is pretty much impossible at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, it's weird. It's weird. Like, I like that particular storyline, despite the fact that, Lorca's doing a whole bunch of chin stroking, and it's
the maniacal,
exactly.
I've got it. I'm going to get them.
His fingers.
Yeah.
I like that this episode is starting to round out the characters and the crew into who they're going to be over the course of the season.
Yeah.
I'm really liking how Michael is interplaying with Saru.
Yes. I wanted to bring him up too.
Their relationship is complex and wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
Same thing with Michael and her budding professional relationship with Anthony Rapp. I forget his name, Lieutenant Sametz.
Yeah.
So it seems like everybody's really gelling, and especially the conflict between Lorca and Sametz is absolutely fantastic. Where they were practically getting into a scene. Imagine Lorca was just like, okay, go.
Right.
because the argument was that Discovery's a science ship. We're supposed to be a research vessel, and Volker's like, well, too bad, I'm the captain now.
Right.
Look at
and
me, I'm the captain
and we're
now.
at war. So this is, and that's I love that conflict. I love watching their characters play out. I love the fight between them. I mean, I think I love, like you said, Saru. I'm really interested to see how Saru and Michael's relationship evolves.
Yeah,
because with the history between them, because he was on the Shenzhou, so he's he was there for the mutiny and all that stuff. So
and she had to betray his trust again.
Yes,
in order to test her theory about the tardigrade.
What do you guys think about his threat ganglia? Did they creep you out?
I saw them in the first couple of episodes, and I was sitting there like,
I didn't remember them from the first couple of episodes, but when he's in the turbo lift with her and he's like freaking out because she's staying on the ship, and his like the little backs of his head is like,
yeah.
I guess I didn't really notice them as much as I.
Oh, just that one scene. Like they made them very pronounced in that one scene where they're on the turbo lift together. It's very obvious that they're like kind of reaching out of his head and like lifting up off the back of his neck and stuff and reaching out. And I was just like, ugh.
Yep. It's like
coming out of his brain, like these little things. Ugh.
I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I
think it's cool, but it definitely has the creep factor. Like I think it's a cool. I love when the aliens are innovative and different, and I love it for that.
Yeah,
and it definitely has high creep factor for me.
Yeah, and credit to the makeup artists for making this work. Credit for the digital artists who are probably also making it work, and credit to Doug Jones for owning all the
he's doing a great job, and it's just and I'm so glad, because that's one of we can launch into the Klingons now, and we'll save the worst for last here.
But can we just end this episode right now? Not talk about the Klingons.
We at least have to mention them. They did actually have a segment in this episode.
In both episodes, they have.
I didn't think there was any. No, there was none in episode 3. They weren't in episode 3 at all. So I was like kind of glad we had a little bit of a break in that one, and then they came back in episode 4, which is fine. I'm fine with them coming back, and I'm fine with the continued storyline. But what I would just want to say before we launch into that is I'm so thankful that they managed to make Doug Jones's makeup good, because the Klingons and how thick and like horrible the prosthetics are for the Klingons, like it just makes it like impossible for them to emote in any way.
Oh yeah, it is ridiculous. And the more that you watch them, the more that you can see like these people can barely open their mouths. Like this is like Doctor Who, like early Doctor Who level bad.
Oh yeah, it reminds me of. I can't remember what that one alien is, but he basically has no neck. He's just like a giant head. I can't remember.
Okay, but, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like how little he can move in that prosthetic is like how much they can move, because like I was trying to think of like how their language is.
Yeah, that's what they are.
It's because of like, is it because of their prosthetics, or is it because of how Klingon works? That they just seem like they're barely moving at all.
I know, like there's just like
they're
nothing.
Just like hissing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and honestly, and here's the thing, we've been dogging the Klingons for a couple of episodes now, and saying like the makeup and the language and
the spacism.
And the spacism, and how they can barely move because they've got these giant bits of armor, and it's crazy. And sure, we're gonna keep dogging on that, but watch these first 4 episodes with us, and you will know like this Klingon stuff is boring on top of it as well. I don't know how you feel.
I can't pay attention to it. Like I'm physically having to force myself to read the subtitles, and I can do subtitles.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it just.
But I'm just like,
Yeah, for me it was that the storyline for the Klingons was just so utterly predictable. It's like every betrayal story that's ever been told. Like, okay,
yeah,
redo this.
Sloppy.
Yeah, it's
and
terrible. Like,
it's sloppy. It's horribly put together. Like, and all right, so let's back up. Like, these 2 episodes take place 6 months after the events of the first 2 episodes. All right, so we are supposed to believe that this torchbearer guy and the rest of what's left of Takuma's crew have just been like sitting on a ruined spaceship for 6 months doing nothing. You know,
well, they did collect the dead.
Oh,
they were salvaging. They were salvaging.
That probably took them like.
They were salvaging the ships too. They were salvaging the ships, so they were doing some stuff. But but essentially they're all starving because they have no more food.
Okay, and here's the thing, like we established also at the end of episode 2, like the Klingons, like we were going to go ahead and unite all the houses. Takuma died; he became the martyr. You know, all the gray houses are okay, and we're reuniting for the great glory of Kales. But and they're just going to go ahead and abandon this ship just out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the formation of the Klingon Empire. We were just going to abandon this ship for reasons.
Yeah, because
it is sloppy storytelling, and the big twist, that happened, you could see it coming from literally a mile away.
Yeah.
The minute that these characters walked on the screen, you're just sitting there like, oh, okay, well, that's cool.
He's here to take over the ship. Yep. As soon as I saw so for anybody who, if you have hung out with this episode and you haven't watched, one of the leaders of the other houses, like the most contentious one, shows up and is like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, well, we'll help you. We'll all join together. And then he comes back, and while the torchbearer is on Giorgio's ship on the Shinzu, getting the dilithium crystals so they can finally take off, he takes over and takes over his crew. He feeds them with food. I
was about to say, he basically just brings them cookies and is just like, here you go, I brought you cookies.
Yeah, and then he's with, I'm assuming a female, it's hard to tell, Klingon. So. Yeah.
Well, what is gender?
Right. Who's I guess I shouldn't say that. He's with someone who's it seems to be kind of some sexual tension between them. They're together on the other ship, and they come back, and she has already told him, my mother was part of a family who betrayed everybody. And so you're like, oh, great, she's about to betray him. And as soon as she did, I'm like, and this is a fake out. She's going to come back and try to rescue him in the end. And what did she do? She came back and tried to rescue him at the end. I mean, I at every beat of it, I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah, I just wish I could fast forward through those bits, because I'm like, I know where this goes.
Yeah. So I don't
need to be done with it. Do we have to see it?
So I guess the way it ended for them though was that she had another ship that they were going to take off on. So I guess they're going to chase after the guy who stole his crew. I'm not real sure. Their new purpose.
I don't know. I know that they're going to be long speeches in Klingon.
Yep. There's gonna be long speeches. They're gonna talk about political stuff, and just like give me a Klingon raid. I don't need the Klingons to talk. I need them to break onto a Federation ship or go into a Federation outpost with their batleth and just straight up murder people. Men, women, children. I don't care. Just murder somebody, because that's what
action from the Klingons. We need some
because they're supposed to be action-oriented people, right?
Yeah. That's their whole thing is supposed to be.
Why do they keep talking so much?
Yeah, they're supposed to be space barbarians, so barbarize something, please. Bring out your inner Sweeney Todd. Let's get something done.
Yeah, it does seem contrary to their aesthetic and what we know and believe about them as a race and as people. So
yeah, I mean, it's just like I'm done with the Klingons.
Yeah.
Unless episode 5 really
maybe we'll only have them in every other episode.
Maybe. Yeah.
Then it's just false hope.
Yeah. And then they're only appearing in the episodes where the people of color are dying.
Right.
So it's like a double bad episode. So I don't understand why the episodes are following the pattern of the old movies. It's like every other one is bad.
Yeah. Well, but they're on the other numbers though, because it's the even numbers that are good and not. No, that's wrong. Yeah, no, it is. The even numbers are the good ones. Are good,
and the odd numbers are bad.
Odd numbers are bad because 3 and 5 were 5 was particularly atrocious.
Oh yeah, I never made it through 5.
Yeah, they sing "Row, row, row your boat" at the end around a campfire.
Well, it's cool.
It's like the worst scene ever. I was like, "What is this?" Mm-hmm. Anyway, yes,
it's a thing.
Yeah. So. All right. So, I guess we are. We're looking forward to some aspects of where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So maybe we'll see. I feel better. I feel better about it after these 2 episodes, episode 3 and 4, than I did after 1 and 2. Like 1 and 2, I was really skeptical. But I'm feeling a little bit more confident about it now.
I mean, I'm not, but mostly just because we're supposed at this point we have 2 villains on the show, and one set of villains may as well just be sitting there dressed all in black, holding up a skull, talking about alas poor York, because that's how damn dramatic they're being. And then the other one is
Hamlet didn't have a goatee.
No, the other one. No, that's the Klingons. That's the Klingons. And Lorca, and Lorca's just is sitting out there, just being the obvious, just I'm the bad guy, and we're gonna have to go ahead and force, I'm calling it right now, by the end of the first season, and I'm gonna put first season as the end of May, Michael is going to have to be forced into choosing mutiny again.
Yeah,
to overthrow Lorca. I guarantee it. That is where this is going.
Yeah, well, it pretty much has to. They couldn't have set that up. And they couldn't have set her up in that storyline and not have it carry through.
Yeah. So she is going to be branded.
But it's going to be a true. There's going to be a need for mutiny where there wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first time around. So
and she's going to get her redemption, and everything's going to be great, and and the Discovery is going to return to its roots as a science vessel.
My prediction is that Discovery is going to crash and burn.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe not this season. What?
I have a feeling Michael is going to destroy everything, and that's why we never got the spore technology.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to crash, and they're not going to have had any other way to track it, and because it is so top secret that nobody knows about it. So,
yep, it's ridiculous. I'm not optimistic because I'm pretty sure I can see exactly where the season is going, but I'm going to keep watching it because I'm an idiot, and I like wasting my time apparently. So, I'm already financially committed, so I'm gonna go ahead and hey, sunk cost fallacy, folks. It's a thing.
Well, for those of you watching or listening, we'd love to hear what you're thinking. Do you agree? What are you thinking about the Klingons? I'm really into the whole plot about science versus war and seeing where this goes. And seeing what kind of happens. So let us know. Leave us some comments on the site, thegeekembassy.com. Check us out on Twitter at The Geek Embassy. You can catch us on our Facebook page as well. So get in touch. Cool. And until next time, get your truck on. Bye.
Okay, bye.